The drink is called the Hadley. It is Aperol, Maletti, Smith and Cross rum. Tell your favorite bartender, put it on the chalkboard, and make my day. Appreciate it.
All right, guys, everyone out there listening, watching, you heard. It's called the Hadley.
For freshly brewed discussion on automotive sales and marketing, this is Coffee with Jason. The Coffee with Jason podcast is sponsored by Closer's Coffee. For that full-bodied, rich, sweet flavor with a bright acidity, drink Closer's Coffee, stay caffeinated, and keep on closing. Find out more at closerscoffee.ca.
Hey, what's going on, Podcast Nation? It is Jason Harris here with Digital Dealership Solutions, episode of Coffee with Jason. Today I have my guest, Ben. Hey, Ben, for everybody out there who doesn't know who you are and how you got started in this industry, if you can give us that 2-minute origin story that is Ben, that'd be a great place for us to start.
Absolutely. So, really appreciate you having me. I have been arguably associated with auto my whole life.
Nice.
Family has 6 dealerships, but it really wasn't until after college where it was a requirement to graduate that I got an internship, and I got one with a company called dealer.com here in Burlington, Vermont.
I think I've heard of that small company before. Right?
Yeah, a little baby company.
Yeah, I think I've heard of them.
You might have heard of them. And I built my career there, 7 years, through all the mergers, all the acquisitions, and then found myself doing multi-touch attribution models with a company called Clairvoy.
Mm-hmm.
And basically creepily watching all the things consumers do and click on before they buy a car. And then that led me to Prodigy Digital Retailing about 7 months ago.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So it's been a really crazy journey, but every single kind of step along the way has been almost interlocked in some sort of way. Like the data that I was seeing at Clairvoy was really showing kind of the discrepancy that most digital retailing products were just kind of failing. Mm-hmm. Even though there was a high amount of consumers trying it. They'd be go, oh, I like this idea, but then they'd bail out. And Prodigy, I think, came up with an interesting solution to fix it.
No, and then, you know what, there's been so much buzz around digital retailing, and unfortunately, it's actually been turned into a buzzword now, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think we do a good enough job of explaining the operations and technology portion. We seem to really focus on the technology portion, how fancy and cool and streamlined it is, but we don't necessarily talk about the operations portion of it, which you must have decent holiday roundtable conversations with family. I mean, the fact that you're on the tech side and your family's in the operations business side, I mean, do you guys just I can't imagine what Thanksgiving dinner is going to be like for you guys.
Yeah. So, so there is an interesting market in Burlington in terms of, it's rural, but then it's got this crazy density of automotive educated digital marketers now.
Yeah. Well,
so
cool.
Yeah. So, what was this, you're like a regular Subaru dealer or something. And, for years you operated in a very specific way. And then dealer.com becomes the highest employer in your state. And all of a sudden everybody knows what holdback is, knows what a good deal, and knows how to negotiate. And so the market here has been really funky in terms of responding to this new consumer. So in a lot of ways, I think we're a lot more progressive by nature because we're dealing with a high amount of people that are in our industry.
Yeah, it's got to be cool just to be kind of at the center point of all automotive technology in that area. Yeah, imagine for the consumer it'd be very interesting because there's probably a lot of things that are being beta tested. There's probably a lot of adoption of technology early on than other parts of the country. So yeah, and then I imagine in your own family, just and their dealerships and stuff like that, that's got to be it's got to be a pretty hot topic for you guys.
Yeah, I remember showing my uncle the multi-touch attribution modeling I was doing, and he was just like, "Don't care,"
Okay,
just
so that's what I was wondering, right? So okay,
yeah, absolutely.
The typical old school automotive guy. Yeah, that doesn't sell cars.
Yeah, the sniff test on almost anything I've ever done has been going to him. What do you think? It was actually funny. So when I got that internship, I was like, Uncle Bill, I'm gonna be in automotive software. And he goes, okay. And he pulled me, and this is like 2009. and he pulls me over to his service department and he shows me his like UCS Power Systems DMS. It's got like an F1, F2 screen on it. And I'm like, looks like MS-DOS to me.
It was.
Right. And I go, wait, this is automotive technology. Like this is the software that's powering automotive. And I'm like, how much did you spend on this? And I won't quote it because it's insane.
It's ridiculous. I know.
It's crazy. And
Still
meanwhile, the guy he has me paired up with is a service director who's been there probably like, I don't know, 25 years. Service directors F1, F2ing that screen like Rain Man faster than the screen can keep up. And then meanwhile, he's asking me questions on how to use his iPhone. And I'm like, this is all sorts of backwards. Like nothing here is making any sense. Luckily, so that was like, I'm scared now. I'm entering into auto. I get at dealer.com. I learned, hey, we're on the digital, we're the real tech side of things.
Yep.
And luckily that was the case because I'd always wanted to kind of work at a startup, always wanted to be in tech from when I was very, very young. And so I near had a heart attack when I was like, are we traveling back to 1988 here? This is crazy. And that, we still were time traveling. I mean, we were still going back, but we were just going back 7 years instead of, going back a couple decades.
But I'm so glad you brought that up because I think a lot of people, that haven't been in the industry long enough or just getting into the industry is that we had this like huge light speed fundamental shift where, dealer operations was head of technology. The technology was way behind the actual operations. And then there came a point where just this big monster shift changing. Technology just went way, way farther than our dealer operations. And now it's kind of like reversed. Now, instead of the technology trying to catch up to the operations, now the operations trying to catch up to the technology. And that's where I kind of see how digital retailing ultimately kind of comes into play.
I love it. So I was just talking about this at a conference and, you look at 1995 to 1998, Edmunds comes online, Kelley Blue Book, Auto Trader, all these third parties go, I don't know. I think the consumer might want to use this thing called the internet to maybe shop around. And I just asked casually, hey, any dealers in the room beat those guys to having a website? Of course, no hands go up, right? I'm like, okay, well, then DealerTrack buys credit online in like 2000-ish. And I go, anybody by chance do a finance app online before DealerTrack sees this opportunity, consumer wants to do something online? Nope. And then I think it was TrueCar CarGurus was around 2006. This idea of price transparency, consumer really wants it. Anybody? Nope. And then 2012, DealerTrack releases the first kind of iteration of digital retail. Carvana comes to the market. Any dealers thinking about digital retailing back in 2012? Nothing. So it's almost like this weird piece where we tend to wait until our hand is forced to really even adopt the technology in the first place. But then if you look at those kind of 24 years from 1995 to today, I really am starting to deem that era as the era of kind of shopping optimization, where we spend a lot of time helping the consumer from a resource standpoint, from helping with research, model comparison, all that kind of stuff. I think you're nailing it in terms of digital retail is the gateway to buying optimization, right? Where it's not so much about paralyzing the consumer with way too much analysis. It's like, how can I facilitate sales faster? And that is 100% operations and logistics.
It is. And that's what I really, really want to drive home, guys, that this is not a technology play. This is an operations play. Okay. That's what it is. Or at least for me, that's how I view it. Maybe other people are going to disagree with me, but that's how I see it. We've done a good job, to your point, for the last 20 some odd years of giving consumers a research and a shopping experience. Well, I say shopping experience. There are still a handful of dealerships out there that didn't get the memo from '98 about that. They're still trying to figure that crap out, which blows my mind. It's 2019. I was at a conference and somebody was still talking about inventory merchandising. I was like, holy. This digital retailing is it's the involvement. It's the evolution of what the consumer wants, right? They're
Yep.
able to do their research online. They're able to do their shopping online. It's like, why can't they do, or at least start the buying process online? But to your point, it has to do more with an operations play than just another piece of technology. So let's go straight into it. Let's talk about the operations play portion of it.
Sure.
You sent me this awesome document, I think kind of laid out how you guys kind of look at it from an operations perspective. So we'll start there.
Yeah, I mean, the best digital retail companies we see from a multi-touch attribution model standpoint touch about 10% of sales.
Mm-hmm.
Prodigy is touching 83%. How did we do it? Well, we all said, let's build products where the consumer is. And we thought the consumer is online, and they are shopping online, but
Sure.
they're still
thousands of unique visitors every single month. Yep, there's tons of them there.
Yep, they're still predominantly buying in store.
Yes.
So the thought occurred to us. We were like, okay, there's a bunch of pitches happening where the beginning of the digital retailing pitch is something like, look at Amazon. And you're like, okay.
I hate when that happens, to be honest with you. Dude, I really fucking hate that, okay?
It kills me.
What is the average transaction of an Amazon purchase is like around or under $100.
Yeah.
It's like, we're talking about a $30, $40, $50, $60, $70, $80,000 car, okay? Not, anyways, I digress. I'll calm down.
Here's what's crazy. I am sick and tired of it for an entirely different reason. People are like, oh my gosh, the Amazon experience, whatever. I don't even think the Amazon website's that great looking. I've been to more dealership websites where I'm like, this like sexy wise is way better.
Yeah.
But have you ever really like paid attention to like after you click that Amazon button, what is happening? Right? Nobody thinks about this, but there's a guy in a warehouse in some place that has an iPad in front of him. It lights up and it says, hey, you need to go to carousel 12, grab these items off of it, use these specific boxes to box it. Then you got to run over to this place, drop it off. And meanwhile, like the FedEx or UPS guy is going to pull out like an iPhone. He's going to scan it. And his job is outlined too. He goes, oh, step one for me is take this box over to that truck. Step two is this box over to that truck. So like it's literally the operations and logistics of Amazon were built way before the button was built. But we're doing the exact opposite in industry. We throw buttons on, I call it VDP vomit, where we're just like,
yeah, that's actually a good one. VDP vomit.
Yeah, let's just, you know what? One button worked. Maybe two will work. Maybe three. Screw it. Like that's at 14.
Let's put 12. And you know what? Let's change them all to different colors and shit. While we're at it, we'll make a few of them flash.
Yes.
I went to a dealership's website. It was, I can't remember which dealership it was, but I literally got to VDP and there was a button. There were buttons doing this. Just I'm like, I'm gonna get a fucking stroke. Just shopping through their inventory.
Do you remember when the lady used to walk out on the website and say like, gosh, welcome to the dealership? Like, what are we doing here?
No idea. But hey, it was cool. I mean, that's the problem. But those are perfect examples of like us leaning towards technology because it was cool and shiny.
Yeah.
And didn't necessarily have a deep-rooted operational goal objective.
Yes, absolutely. So in that logic, we're looking at it and saying, okay, we built some really cool things for the website. Why aren't they performing like we thought they would? And we realized we fell into the same exact trap. We built a really cool button. We built no process behind it. And we decided to change it. So we said, all right, let's, for the next couple years, just focus on in-store process. And this is a couple years ago, where the team basically went out and said, let's actually make APIs directly with the CRM. Let's make APIs directly with the finance companies. Let's make
the operation portion of this easier and more connected. I like that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So because the stat today is that the average car sales 3.5 hours. The other more alarming piece is that the salesperson will leave the customer 11 times during that sale.
Yes, it drove me absolutely nuts.
Which is like, how many times can you say, do you want some water, or can I get you another Coke or some chips? Like, before it just becomes obnoxious, right? Like,
Yep.
you're
Well,
kind of like, what is
that's
going on
one
here?
part. The one I really hated is the payment presentation portion. God, I mean, look, I'm not a stickler. I'm pretty easygoing on a lot of things, but when I hear that term used inside of a dealership, I literally just want to slap someone upside the back of the head.
Yeah.
Like, you're seriously going to make it work for someone to buy this car? Like, come on, let's watch what we're saying here, right? Okay, so I fill out the worksheet, then we
Right.
disappear into that black abyss that is the sales manager's office. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm
The
back
Wizard of
in
Oz
there.
curtain.
Yeah, the Wizard of Oz. Let me get behind the curtain, right? I'll be
Right.
back in there for 5 to 7 minutes. You'll have no idea what the hell I'm actually saying. I'm probably talking about you. All
Yep.
right. And then we come back with some handwritten, in some cases, depending on the sales manager's, barely legible actual handwriting.
Yeah.
Right. And with little to no explanation of how I actually achieved that number. and I'm supposed to convince the customer that this is a great freaking deal.
Yeah.
It is asinine. This is crazy that we're doing it this way. Anyways, I'll jump off my soapbox. I'll let you go back to it. But
No. I love it, because I was so just quick story. I was in Ontario, California, and working with the dealer, and he was like, I love this. I love what you guys are doing. Great. He goes, I got to hire some more salespeople though. We're short. I go, okay, that's fine. And so I'm like, can we pull, like, who do you recently hire that's doing really well? We pull this kid, Merrick, in. Merrick comes in. He's like 27, 26, something like that. And he sees the iPad app, and he just looks at me and he goes, oh yeah, we had that at LensCrafters. First of all,
like Merrick. I'm going to get along with Merrick.
I love Merrick.
I think me and Merrick are going to go to some hipster coffee shop and share a coffee. I know. Yeah.
He's just like that guy. And so I'm like, wait a second. First off, you worked at a LensCrafters before you came to Auto. That's interesting. Second, explain. And he goes, yeah, no. At LensCrafters, you'd like walk into the customer, you check them into LensCrafters. The whole step process is just mapped out on the iPad. And I'm thinking like, you're right. That's weird. I'd never really noticed it, but it's like the consumer expectation. Like, go to a McDonald's, right? You have the line, you have the kiosk. Go to Uno's, you can order from a server, you can order directly on an iPad right at the booth. Like,
same thing with a McDonald's. I can go to McDonald's and literally there's the kiosk right there.
Totally. Like Verizon Wireless, Sprint, whoever, they don't do, I guess Bell for you guys, they don't do like meet and greets. They do check-ins.
Yes.
Right? But it's the same exact thing. So often I think of us as a disruptive product, but the more I kind of see it propagate in other places, I'm just like, this is just progression. This isn't even.
I know. I agree with you. I don't think. I know. I'm being a stickler for words, but I agree with you too. Right? It's like we're not disrupting something. This is actually just evolution. This is.
Yeah.
It's funny that you say LensCrafters, because I recently bought myself a new set of glasses, and that's exactly what I did. I sit with them at their product station. I didn't have to go. Yeah, no, I didn't have to go to a counter at all. Actually completed the entire transaction there. They did all my measurements and put it into the iPad, did the whole thing right there.
Yep. And they probably left you 11 times, or like, hey, hold on a second. Let me go get the sales manager, bring him into the deal. Oh, you know what? You're a little above your payment already. I get that, but I'm going to introduce you to this other guy in F&I that you've never met before. Like, you probably had this whole, right? This similar? No?
No.
Okay.
No, didn't have, no.
Right.
It was a clean process, right? And the cool thing too is like I've had classes for a long time, so I've had to buy glasses for a long time, and I actually remember coming out of that and going, well, that was faster than I thought it was going to take.
Yeah.
Because I just assumed I was going to be there. In fact, actually, I remember telling my wife, I said, I got to go get these new glasses. It's probably going to take me a couple hours. I'll call you when I'm done. I was out, I think, in 35 minutes.
Yeah, that's the great news, is that because we've done such a miserable job in terms of like speed and efficiency, guess what? The benchmark is actually really easy to beat now. Like, right? It's 3.5 hours. So like getting them to 2 is the win, right? Like If we get them to a 45 minutes in and out, that would be astronomical. And that's what we're finding at Prodigy. On average, we're shaving off 90 minutes a sale. So we've gotten to the 2. We're trying to figure out ways, how can we get that even further, reduce it even more.
Now, I'm curious because I was just thinking about this. What is the stat right now of how many people that are starting the process online?
I mean,
for you guys. I mean, I know it varies, but
so interestingly enough, for us, because we have that 83% metric where we touch 83% of sales.
Yep.
You almost are better just saying, what's the stat for everybody? Because really all we're doing is not touching fleet. So for consumers, I would say it's got to be 100%. Even if someone said, no, it's not 100%, I would say that's nonsense. I mean, every single person starts online in some shape or form, which kind of begs the question why we even have internet departments. Like,
that's a good point.
It's this weird thing. I almost think we should flip it and have like traditional departments, like the guy that still has the newspaper and the like circled vehicle. Like he deserves the special experience. But for the rest of us, like, let's just assume that you were online and not make it like this designated category. Like, oh, this is a very special guy. He's used this thing called the internet. Like, no, it's everyone.
That's actually a really good point.
Yeah, it's kind of time to give that up, I think. And at least also not make the same mistake today that we did with internet. I hear a lot of people suggest with digital retail, you make a champion. Totally agree. I think what we have a tendency to do is say, like in 95, it would have been, what do we do with the auto buy tell fax? Let's give it to Jeff because Jeff just doesn't know what he's doing. So we'll kick him a deal. And then Jeff became internet manager, like Jeff started taking off.
The progression of it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think you fast forward to today, what we don't want to do is say, let's create one single person that can handle digital retail. To do it right, you wrap everybody around that process. It's not like you go to Lens Crafters and there's one guy.
And to do that, though, you have to embrace the operations portion of it, right? Like we got to stop taking a look at it being that technology play, but it's an operations play. And when operations play, everybody gets involved. Okay. If we're going to, let's say, remap our test drive process, okay? Let's just say that's what we're going to do, right? Well, one guy doesn't get the training on how to do that. Totally. Everybody gets involved. Everybody gets trained to saying, okay, here's how we're going to remap this test drive. This is where we want you guys to go. Actually, we're going to offer a couple different options, a couple different routes. Okay. We want you guys to take this process before the car goes out, whatever it is, right? Everyone gets involved when it's operating.
So in that particular one, something I've been obsessing over is this concept that I call anti-fragile operations. The easiest way to think of it is the opposite of fragile. The hard part is in the English language, there is no opposite of fragile. People will toss out like resilient. People will toss out strong. What we're looking for is actually something that gets really strong the more chaos and uncertainty is thrown at it versus something that is just strong. So I want to increase strength. I want to increase my brand based on chaos. And primest example I can give you, if we actually step out of auto for a second, I was at a restaurant in Chicago, and a prospect, now client, was like, we're going to go get steak. And if you're me, you're traveling a lot, you're eating a lot of steak already. So I was kind of like, I don't really want to eat steak, but it's him. He's like, we're getting steak. Okay, fine. We'll go get steak. So we have this reservation, 9 p.m., this place called Maple and Ash in Chicago. And
I've been there. Oh, that's a good place.
Get ready. So you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
I know. Yeah, I've been there. That's a very nice place. Yeah.
So we go upstairs. It's got that nightclubby kind of dim lit hip music going on, and we sit down at our table. And I'm like, this place isn't so bad. I open up the menu, and there's a line item, and it says, I don't give a
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, this restaurant gets me. Like, this is awesome.
This restaurant gets me. Yep.
Yes. So I immediately got to inquire about it. Excuse me, miss, what's this line item? And she goes, oh, that's essentially 13 something course meal, but the chef is going to do all non on the menu items. He's just going to kind of invent on the fly.
Yep.
If you like it, give me a thumbs up. If you don't, he'll adjust. And I'm thinking in my head, look, like I have been working from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. I've been thinking all day. And they just presented me with the easy button.
An easy button, yep.
Right? Like I'm the chaos, I'm the uncertainty. They don't know when a customer is going to come in that, wants this, but they know that it's going to make that customer's night, right? When they can just say, all right, I can turn it off and just leave this to the pros. And it could have, like, literally this story could have ended there. It didn't.
Did you do it? Did you do the big one? I didn't.
Of course,
I did it. Okay.
Yeah,
right,
we did.
cool.
Of course we did it. So then about like 2 minutes later, I go, hey, could I get, and I've been trying to get a drink named after me for years. Okay.
Okay.
I know. Yeah. It's called the Hadley.
Yeah, okay. Is that one of your goals and objectives that you just want?
It's a goal and objective for my life. Right. Like Steve Jobs said, hey, I want to make a dent on the universe. And, he makes the iPhone. Set the bar a little lower.
You want a cocktail named after?
Yeah, my legacy is going to be a cocktail named after. So it's called the Hadley. It's Aperol, Smith and Cross, and Maletti. Okay, equal parts.
I don't think I've ever had Maletti. What is that exactly?
It's also like a digestive Amaro, like in that family.
Okay.
And so they have all the ingredients, and they like bring one right out, and 2-3 minutes later, it's gone. So I'm like waving kind of my like empty glass, and another server walking by, never talked to her in my life, comes over to me, goes, how can I help you? And I go, oh, could I get another? And she goes, oh, maple and ash, old fashioned. And I'm like, and I'm about to correct her, and she goes, oh, sorry, no, that's the Hadley.
No, come on.
That's yours. And I'm like, wait, pardon me, miss, this is crazy. How do you know what my drink is? I was thinking in my head, and I got my hopes up. Like, did it happen? Is it a thing? Yeah. I've been going to the Chicago market a lot, and and she's like, oh, no. So as soon as you told your server your preference, the server went and told every single server in your section your preference. Then went to the bar, told both bartenders your preference. So you could literally go to anybody,
and they'll get you that.
And you could say, I'd like a Hadley, and they know exactly what you're talking about. Right?
That's an experience.
That was an experience not only that I talk about constantly and tell every family. The steak was okay. You know what I mean? It was good.
Yep.
Could you go to a Gibson's or Ruth Chris or whatever and get it? Sure.
Yep.
But the service and the experience and the acknowledgement was so much better than any other place I'd go that it was an immediate win. And then I parallel that with auto, right?
Yes.
You get to a website. You have 12 buttons that want your first name, last name, email address. Then you get to a meet and greet at a dealership. What's your first name? What's your last name? Then you go to a salesperson. Let me introduce you. What's your first name? What's your last name? Then you go to a sales manager because you have a TO process. What's your first name? What's your last name? Then you go to an F&I guy. You don't know me? First name, last. It's like it's the most fragile process, right?
It's a fragile. Use with fragile. I say broken, but yeah, I mean yes. It's definitely what it is. It does not yield in creating an experience, and it also doesn't necessarily bring a lot of value. See, the other thing I think that was key with what your story was there is that there was value in the experience. To your point, that it was a good steak. To your point, you could get that same steak at other locations, and there were a few things that were good, but I mean, we're not talking like the story doesn't have to be about the product. The product is kind of the same wherever we go. It doesn't have to be about the price. The price is going to be pretty much the same, pretty much wherever we go, right? But the story for you and there is the experience.
Yes.
It's that intent to want to serve someone, so much so that the operations was developed around that perspective.
Absolutely.
Like how could I better, like, you could obviously see what their brand was about. Their brand was a brand about you as an individual. So like, how can we make someone feel special? How can
Yes.
we show them the intent to want to serve them and their needs? All right. They took that, owned that, all right? That was their why, right? Then they gave their how a direction.
Yes.
So it's like, how do we handle our bar staff? How do we handle our servers? How do we, all that now is being directed and defined by their why
Yes.
of
Love
creating
it.
that unique individual style experience.
Totally. Yeah.
But as dealerships, we don't do that. We all know what we do. We all know how we do it, but we don't ever seem to take any freaking time whatsoever and define why we do it the way we actually do it, and then develop that out so that we can give our operations, our how, more direction.
Yeah. I think of, back to kind of the test drive world, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think of, how do we determine kind of what the Hadley is without overtly asking for it, right? So one example I gave a couple weeks ago is actually a larger notion of there is this thing I think of as digital body language, right?
Yeah,
So
that's good.
If I had a customer that submitted a trade-in app, take digital retailing out of this for a second, like just a regular trade-in app, and they wrote in 18,000 miles and they owed 17,000 on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have a 3-year-old car, 18,000 miles on it, and they owe 17,000. And then I have another consumer, 3-year-old car. They put in that they have 52,347 miles and that they owe $13,342, right? Which one do we know inherently is lower funnel?
Oh yeah, it's obvious, right? The one that
Yeah.
knows the exact numbers for sure.
The person that walked down to their garage, turned on the car for a second, wrote on a piece of paper, right? 52,347, right? And then, called their bank. What do I? Oh, 13,442. Great. Got it. I will go back to my desktop and type those in. That person is way lower funnel, right? The other person's probably research. I don't know. Got to be 18,000. I think I owe about 17.
Something like that.
Now, here's where I think we need to get. That's like everybody should be baseline there. The next level to me is how do we change our test drive experience for each of those consumers?
Mm-hmm.
So on one end, you had 18,000 miles. On the other, you had 52,347, whatever. Okay, to me, one is giving me a signal that on a 3-year-old car, you drove 6,000 miles a year on average. So you're probably more like me in terms of you drive your rental car more often than you drive this car, right?
Yep.
So you're using this for errands, quick, short trips. Okay, good to know. On the other person, 52,347, you're driving an abnormal amount of miles per year on that 3-year-old car, right? Now, all of a sudden, lane keeping assist becomes really important on your 40-minute commute from your job that's, to work, to home, et cetera, back and forth. You're probably experiencing a bunch of traffic on that 40-minute commute. So are we like connecting your favorite podcasts to the audio system? Are we doing Apple CarPlay? Are we showing Android Auto? How many phone calls are you making on that 40-minute commute there and back? Well, you're probably calling your best friend, your spouse, or whatever. Let's do that while we're driving, right? That there's two different hypotheses there. And sometimes you're going to be the server that walks up and says, oh, that's the maple and ash old fashioned, right?
Yep.
Or you ring a bell and go, oh, wait, actually, you know what? You bought the car at 50,000 miles and you put 2 on it. I'm just completely wrong. But sometimes you are going to come off like a psychic, and you are going to sound very much like someone that's been in this industry, that's done this a few times before, that is waiting just to give you an expedient process, right? It's more of a already get it versus I need to get it, like understand it. Like I don't need to ask you questions to derive to the conclusion. I've already understood you. I think that amount of empathy, an amount of assumption, but confirmation it's goes empathy, really far.
It's also a commitment to your craft. Right?
Yes.
The data is there. What you do with the data is completely up to you. All right. There are dealerships from an operation perspective that do absolutely fucking nothing with their data. Nothing. Totally. Like the information's there, they don't do anything with it, right? And then there are other dealerships, and then there are even some individuals within dealerships that do embrace that, look at that, and own that data. You know, I had a similar experience recently where I bought a new car. And I couldn't believe it, but when the guy came out to present me some payments, he presented me a lease. I was like, you fucking kidding me? Dude, I'm trading in a car that's 2017 and I have over 170,000 kilometers on it. Like, why in the world would you take the time to calculate out a lease? I mean, I drive. Okay, so let's put that into miles.
Poor assumption.
I mean, let's put that in the miles. I drive about 4,000 to 5,000 miles a month. Okay, you know, like, so it's like, are you kidding me? Like,
right.
I'm literally going to tap out on what this mileage allocation is within the first 5 months of ownership. Like, you know, but again, the data is there. They clearly knew it, but they just, again,
blatantly ignoring, right?
No, blatantly ignoring it, or I don't know if it's necessarily ignoring it, because I didn't want to blame the salesperson for it. It was a total lack of training and operational understanding that was built and developed around the actual data. So no one had trained on this activity. No one had trained on what you had just talked about, where it was saying, you know, take a look at these key indicators and, you know, and craft something that's unique to them as an individual.
When you have that, have you ever called a 1-800 number?
Sure.
You need some help, right? Yeah. Spend a half hour explaining the problem and they go, oh, wrong department.
Oh, I know.
And then they pop you over to the other person. And there's sometimes this miracle where as they brought you over to the other person, they informed them of the preference and all of the information before, you know what I mean? They like caught them up to speed.
I've had that happen a few times, yeah.
That's the best, right? But 99% of the time, you go to the other department and they're like, who is this?
Let me just restart. Yeah, you're trying to like, okay, let me figure out how can I give this 30-minute story and redo it in 2.5 minutes. Okay, let me tell you the promise.
Yeah, and you just get more and more frustrated. It's like, how can you not hear? And so that is the problem right now, is digital retail online sets up this expectation, right? You put on, I have an express process, or I have an express buying, or express lane, or fast whatever. And then you walk into the store and you're like, whoa, things just slowed down quite a bit. And, you know, I thought my keys would just be waiting for me and we'd be going on the test drive already. Nope. Like the guy I set an appointment with, Joe, apparently is on lunch. So now I'm working with Steve. I don't even know who Steve is, right? It's like a crazy difference. And so if we can solve that problem, which is what we're trying to do, then I think all of the other things fall in place, right?
Agreed. Yeah, for sure.
You nail that, then it's like, who cares what color the button is, what, you know, like what do you say, if it's a fast or slow, it doesn't matter. Like all of the other things line up, right?
Well, to do that, to make that fundamental shift for a lot of dealerships right now, is that they have to change their mindset about what their website actually is. Okay.
Sure.
You have to understand, they still assume and look at their website as being a lead generating tool. So it's not an operations tool. All right. It's not an experience generating tool. It is literally designed to just capture someone's first name, last name, and phone number and email address. All right. Yeah. So that's a huge mind shift to say that, you know, they're looking the website as a tool and we're talking about the website just being an extension of their operations.
Absolutely. It's funny because being in website at the first portion of my career is feeling very similar to being in digital retailing today.
It's so funny. I said almost the exact same thing to someone the other day. Yeah. I was telling someone, I'm like, look, because I've been in business a long time, and I was like, I remember sitting down with a dealership and them telling me that they're not going to get a website because their customers don't go on the internet. And I'm like, I wish I almost had a recording of that so I could play that today, because it would just get an obscene amount of laughs.
we used to do this, you know, you do like sales training at dealer.com, and this is like 2009, and we would videotape each other and you'd have to ask these questions. And I kid you not, this is 2009, iPhone is already out. This would be the objection we'd sometimes prepare for, because we were getting it so much, which is, I don't want a website, I want a web page. If they want to see the inventory, they can just come in the store, right? And that actual objection was used pretty frequently, because then a few years later when we were like, hey, you should put more pictures online, more pictures. They can just use the Evox Images pictures if they want. pictures of the actual inventory. They can just come in store, right?
It just kept pushing.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then, but actually, the price transparency argument. Hey, we should like think about price transparency. If they want the price, listen, they got to come in the store, you know. And so, actually, I think, you know, from an operations standpoint, one of the divergent paths we took was like we forgot that the internet. I think at one point we probably felt like, look, we have the water. You know, in at least North America, owning a car is almost a necessity for a lot of us to get to and from work. It represents freedom. It represents independence. So like, I have the water. If you're thirsty, come in the store. And I think then the internet comes along and says, wow, there's a lot of water out there. Anybody has the water. Where do you want the water? Who's got the better water? And so then service and operations then obviously kind of ebb and flow, but we're coming back. It's almost like it's coming back in vogue to really focus on that.
What it is, I mean, you got to think at some point in time, right? If we wanted information, we had to physically walk or take a drive down to a library to get information.
Totally.
And, you know, it's the consumers change. But as businesses, as in our industry, we're still treating like libraries. We're acting like libraries. You know, it's like we're holding on to the information. For some reason, someone has to come and take an action to get the information, which is not true at all, right?
No.
That's not how the consumer wants to be treated. It's just, but I feel like as an industry, especially from working on the agency side, is that we kind of did this to ourselves, right? The fact that we were pitching websites from a very early point as being a lead generating tool, right? That it just generated more opportunities for you to sell cars. That's what kind of screwed us over. The fact that we did not come out of the gate and say, this is not a lead generating tool, this is an operations tool. Right. For some reason, we've never made transition for a lot of dealerships. Now, digital retailing, I think, is doing a better job. Digital retailing is now kind of showing that, hey, look, your website is not necessarily just a tool to generate leads, all right, but is now an actual part of operations. And the cool thing is we talked about experience before, right? We know consumer, that's what they want. They want an experience, right? Now that same online experience I get can be the same in-dealership experience that I get. There's not, you know, this digital dealership, this physical dealership, and them being separated from each other. It's like, no, this is just, you know, it's funny. The physical dealership should be the extension of my digital one. But in fact, we've always kind of reversed it. We said our physical one, all right, here's a slightly digital version of that, but it actually has to be the other direction. But that's where I think digital retailing is coming in and changing that for a lot of people.
Yeah, like you, I mean, if you took it so literally, but you said like, I mean, let's think about that. How many dealerships, like just on paper, are not as modern as the website? Like the website generally is like the best foot forward right now.
Yep.
It is like, wow, this thing is a tech marvel. Holy crap. And then you actually have product, right, where I think the stat that I read was on average, not even an EV, on average, a car has 150 computers in it now, which is just crazy.
Yep.
Yet we're like whipping out, like, you know, we're whipping out the green Sharpie.
And a Foursquare.
And the Foursquare, and going, I know you're about to drive this car that can almost practically drive itself, but let's get pen and paper involved. You know, you're like, wait a second, this is so foreign and contradictory. And then, you know, it's back to the UCS power system. It's back to like the F1, F2 screens that really were largely ignored over the last 24 years, right, in terms of progress. And so we focused a lot of those efforts. No wonder our websites is our best foot forward. That's where we've been focusing for the last 20 years, right? And like, but then you go on the in-store and you look at CRMs that are like, you know, whatever, 2019 CRMs, but they look like they're like, you know, 1999 still.
Yep.
It's kind of crazy.
And let's talk about what a CRM is, because I get into this argument a lot, right? Is that our usage of a CRM is not even appropriate in the first place, right?
No.
I mean, you got to understand the very, very core initial concept of building this technology so that we could actually manage a relationship. Relationship. It's in the freaking word, guys, of what this damn system is called. But we are so transactional these days that we seem to forget that this product was actually designed to assist us in maintaining a relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. And the M doesn't stand for, but yeah, sorry, I can go off on a tangent, but you're nailing it. I love it. Like, to me, there's a couple different funky things going on in that world. It's partly because there was so much volume in a quick adaption of it that, call it 2006 to 2012. You had a bunch of new CRM companies. They're all redesigning. It's like,
Oh, and I
there's a
love
lot going on there.
When those CRM companies came out. So again, we as ourselves, we screwed ourselves on this. Okay, so a lot of when those new CRM companies were coming out, it was all about CRM automation. Remember that?
Right. Yes.
Right. It's like,
Yeah.
oh no, you don't even have to do the management portion anymore. All right, I got 180-day life cycle. All right, that will ensure that we contact the customer 57 times over a 9-month period. All right.
Yes.
So
Yep.
you don't even have to do the work.
Yeah.
And then we got into this place where it's like, oh man, I don't even have to maintain or manage my relationship. I got some stupid system that will do that. And for a little while it worked because we were as consumers, we were just getting used to
it's new. Yeah.
It was autoresponders.
Totally.
Now, I don't know of a customer out there that can't smell an autoresponder. I mean, it's pretty freaking obvious now. It's like, oh yeah, thanks. You actually took the time to. No, you did. No,
Totally.
That's totally computer generated, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I see digital retailing. That's coming in, right? See, now we're getting back to that relationship. We're able to create a relationship, and let's talk about relationship. How we create a relationship. Open communication. At least that's what my therapist keeps telling me. Right?
Yeah.
For me to continue to maintain relationships, within my business and at home, it has all and everything to do about communication.
Yes.
And 100%. Transparency of communication and information, right? Like, I mean, what's the fastest way to screw a relationship up, right? Withhold information.
Totally.
You withhold information that's just like,
or you say misinformation.
Right? Or misinformation. That's 100% right.
Yep.
So digital retailing can come in and do that. It actually is bringing the relationship back into customer relationship.
Yeah, there is trying to figure out if I want to go there, and I will. Yeah.
Let's do it.
So, you know how important people are still to sales? You want an absolute easy proof test?
Well, I want to hear your thoughts on this.
Oh yeah. Go to getprodigy.com or go to any other digital retail website, right? And some dealers, have fun, do this exact experiment. Go on the website and look for their buy it now button.
Okay.
It won't exist.
Nope.
We are going to market saying, hey, yeah, everybody's going to just click this button and buy the car, right? No operations needed. And then you go to our own websites, right? And you're like, wait a second, why aren't you eating your own dog food? I can't just buy your product on your own website.
I see the digital retailers that are saying this. Okay,
That's what I'm saying. Exactly.
Okay,
exactly. So my company, go to getprodigy.com. What you will not find is a button that says, yeah, buy Prodigy right here. Click it, right? Give me your Visa, MasterCard, American Express, whatever you want to do. We're done, right? What's probably going to happen at my company or any other company, or CRM, whatever, anything in this business, is you're probably going to contact someone. They're probably going to set up a phone call. Then they're probably either going to do a webinar or an in-person meeting, right? Keyword person. And two people are going to collectively get together to see if a relationship and a sale makes sense.
Exactly.
Holy crap, right?
What a novel idea.
Go figure, right? So, I just think it's comical that we hadn't. I mean, we're guilty of it too. We thought, hey, button on the website, it'll work. Oh, didn't work. So we learned the hard way. But now that we've understood it, there is a lot of value from getting that customer in the door using the system to essentially teach them a new way to buy from you.
Yep.
So that in 7 years or whenever, when they come back in market, I think that's when we'll see people actually take buying a car online super serious, where it starts becoming more the norm, because you're sitting a consumer down. And when you're selling, you're really training them to buy, right? So
Yes.
if your system is like, as such, like, hey, this is what it takes to buy a car. Let me teach you that really quick. You're going to do it side by side with me. I'm guessing in 7 years, they'll remember and they'll see a similar thing on the website and they'll go, oh, yeah, maybe I can do this on my own,
Yep.
right? But until we start teaching that new lesson, like you said, right, to your point, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, the last thing we did to that consumer when the last time they were in market was call them 17 times till their ears bled.
Treat them like a transaction.
Right, exactly.
Yep.
Now we're like, wait, why aren't they giving us a social security number on the finance app? Well, we taught them not to give an email address because we know what happens then. We taught them not to give us the phone number. We know what happens then. So now we're like, yeah, no, but give us a social. It'll be fine. Like, of course, we shot ourselves in the foot today, right now that they're back in the market. Totally makes sense.
Well, because we've also been programmed that way. So, like, I'll give you, for example, the way I buy cars, right? Sure. I put way too many mileage on my car, so I just buy them, right? That's the only way I can ever do it. I can't lease them. I can't do it. I just have to physically buy them. So I buy a new car about every year and a half. That's not normal for most people, but that's between maybe 18 months to 24 months, right? But I've created a relationship with the person, and I call them and they're like, hey Jay, what's going on? I'm like, it's getting close to that time. Okay, cool. What are you thinking you want to do this time? I'm like, yeah, you know what? I like this one, but I'm thinking that maybe I'll go a little bigger. This was a little smaller than, he's like, all right, man, I'll get you something.
Yep.
And then literally it's just because that relationship has been developed. It didn't happen the first time. It didn't happen like that the first time, right? The first time we had to create the relationship. He had to define kind of what this process was going to look like, all right? But now we're at the fourth or fifth transaction I've done with them, and it will just be, okay, no, I got one for you. You're really going to like this one. You like the last one? All right, you like this one. I'm just going to go ahead and pick it up. I'll drive it again. I'll drive it again for another 18 to 24 months and just do it all over again. But there had to be, to your point, it had to be a defined process and defined relationship created before I was able to ever get to that place with the person that sells me my cars.
Yes. I'm going to steal this from Darren Haygood, who's a good buddy of mine he's a chief revenue officer at Dealer Inspire. He said this, look, dealers, we want the easiest trick for getting digital retailing operations down. This is it. And he was speaking specifically to the GMs. He goes, raise your hand if you're a GM in this room and you've already gotten 5 family or friends of friends people calling you, right? Mm-hmm. Saying, hey, I'm interested. I'm thinking, can I get whatever, right? Now raise your hands, and everybody's hands go up, right? Now raise your hands if what you told that person is, oh, my store is so good, you just show up and you talk to anybody. No hands go up, right? Because this is the thing, right? What you probably told them is, come directly to me. When they got there, you were thinking in your head, well, I'll give them to Bob. Bob's just going to talk their ear off for 2 hours, right? Mm-hmm. I'll give them to Jay, right? Jay is really quick and efficient, and I'm going to go over to Jay and that person. Go, look, I'm making X amount of money. This is the deal. I'm going to give you this for the trade, blah blah, et cetera, et cetera. So you're already doing this with friends and family on referrals, right? You're already doing it. So it's essentially taking some of that same exact logic. Yes, we need to do a better job of creating that friend-family relationship, right, with everybody. Yep. So there's tons of legwork there. But the thought process and the sales motion, it's already occurring. It's just occurring for some very select people.
Yep. As I say, it's already happening. To your point, it's already happening, right? And, that's why I know I get caught up on words and stuff like that, but it's like, the whole concept of digital retailing, all right, is we're saying that there is somebody that's specific to digital. And we kind of talked about this earlier. There is no such thing as a digital client, okay? Yeah. They're just customers. That's all they are. They're just clients. That's it, right? So it's like, it should almost just be like customer retailing, because that's what they expect from a retail experience now. It's like you're not we're not trying to isolate some individual or unique group of people that do business with us. These are just people,
Yeah.
We're not saying, oh, and I always hate when everyone says, oh, those internet customers. I'm like, you serious, man? It's 2019.
Yeah.
Okay. How the hell do you think they found Siri just went off on me? Because, okay, no, I'm done, Siri. Okay, shut up. All right, there we go.
Yeah, I can't say the G word because I have those everywhere.
It goes off.
Everywhere in this house, yeah.
But it still blows my mind that we're just, but like I said, I think right now it's going to have to take a fundamental mind shift. We're just going to have to stop looking at it, or have to start looking at it differently, right? This is more of this is customer retailing. All right. This is operations, not technology. It's not this separate entity, this separate shiny thing. It is just good old fashioned operations.
Yeah, people are getting fooled by that digital word into thinking it's marketing, right?
Oh yeah. Well, you know what? I for me, being the marketing person, I like the message.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not.
It provides marketing,
yes.
Right? If you nail the operations, then you can
that's
advertise and say easy, transparent, fast, whatever.
Yep.
Like that provides a message, but the tool itself, we associate digital and we go digital advertising, whatever. And I think we've said, oh, digital retailing. And it's like, no, it's an operations product disguised as marketing, right? Like
an operations product.
Pause. And so actually, interesting. So you have, I sent you over the sales deck. I wonder if we could just put it on the website or something. And, like, hey, look, anybody that wants to look at this playbook.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Absolutely make sure that within the comments of this podcast that we put a link in there.
Nice.
So they kind of attached back. And I definitely, what's funny is I know we're getting close to our time. And I think we only scratched the surface.
I know.
I feel there's a part 2 and maybe even a part 3 coming on this, but I think we've covered a lot. I think we've given dealerships a lot to chew on. I mean, I think what we've asked so far at this point in time is that if you're thinking of digital retailing, you need to understand that it is a operations play, and that is going to a fundamental mind shift in how you're going to retail the customer, So, any final thoughts you have on this, Ben?
Yeah, absolutely. To everybody out there, the drink is called the Hadley. It is Aperol, Moletti, Smith & Cross rum. Tell your favorite bartender, put it on the chalkboard, and make my day. Appreciate it.
All right, guys, everyone out there listening, watching, you heard. It's called the Hadley. Go out right now, order one from your local bartender. No, hey, Ben, thank you so much for taking the time to jam with me today. This was so much fun.
Absolutely, Jason. Thank you, man.
Hey, for everybody out there that's listening or watching, and I would love to connect with you and learn more about what you guys are doing. What is the best way to do so?
Check out the website, www.getprodigy.com. Also, always free to shoot me an email. It is ben@getprodigy.com.
Awesome. Hey, thanks again, Ben. This was so much fun. You have yourself a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too, man.
We covered a bunch of great topics today. What stood out most to you? Be sure to let us know in the comments section below. And don't forget to like the post and share it to keep the conversation going. You can follow Jason on all social media platforms by following Strategy with Jason. You can find him pretty well everywhere you can share content. I hope we were able to get you thinking. And until the next time, have a great day.